Are you unable to concentrate on the tasks at hand? Do you need help focusing more or leveling up your game? Here's a tip. Try Cognizin Citicoline, clinically studied to support mental energy, focus, memory, and attention. Cognizin supports brain health and supplies the brain with the energy it needs to stay sharp. Cognizin is a leading nootropic, featured in over 200 products. This podcast is powered by Cognizin. Visit cognizin.com to learn more and find a product to help you fuel your day.
Ready to achieve great heights? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Power Your Performance, the podcast where we dive deep with leaders in the gaming world and beyond and learn the techniques they use to power their lives. I am your host, Gary Kleinman.
Power Your Performance welcomes Harley Parks,
Thank you.
CEO of BearClaw Esports, powered by Cognizin.
Thank you so much, Gary. It's awesome to be here today.
It's great to see you in person.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's nice to be in Dallas with a live person. So you're now based here.
Correct.
Even though I do know a bit about your history because we have a relationship.
Yep.
Where we sponsor the team. Skins.gg sponsors the team. And we'll be part of the arena, which we will get to. But before we get to any of that, let's talk about you as probably the youngest executive in esports and certainly the youngest owner of an esports team. That's got to be an exciting and responsible place to be.
It is. It definitely is. There's a lot, of course, on my plate that comes with it. And like I said, for everyone watching the podcast, my throat is absolutely gone. I do apologize. But it's a lot of responsibilities, and it definitely piles up really fast. This whole adulting thing has always been stressful. I'm 19 now. I just celebrated my birthday 2.5 weeks ago. So
happy birthday.
May 30th. So it's been...
Well, that means that we have known each other professionally for a year, because it was a year ago that you were going to sign something a day away from your 18th birthday. And I said, I'm not so sure we can do that.
Yep, I remember that.
So this is our anniversary as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. That's that's interesting when you say, the adulting thing. Do you feel that people look at you, one, with a lot of respect or less respect at times, depending on the situation?
I definitely see, depending on the situation, my age does work against me. And then there's some situations where my age does work for me.
Give me an example of both, just because that's fascinating.
When I was at Leap, I was in Saudi Arabia, before I did my press conference, my actual keynote, it was really hard to get a lot of people to see me or talk to me or go up to them and give my business card. They really thought I was just another person walking around.
Like, who's your father?
Yeah, exactly. Like, where's your caregiver here?
I didn't know we were doing childcare this convention.
But, after I spoke, there was a lot more respect, and people came up to me, and I was able to approach into conversations a lot easier. So, certain things like that, before I get to really show who I am or talk about what I do, or for someone to see what I do, I'm definitely looked down upon a lot more. But once I'm able to show, once I'm able to do something, then definitely it's a lot more respect that comes into play.
Well, you've been doing it for quite some time.
Definitely.
You started gaming. How old were you when you started gaming?
Gosh, I think 4 or 5 years old.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was really,
Where'd
really
you play?
tiny. I was playing Pokemon, on the DSi, Pokemon Pearl. I remember when the DSi came out, I was so excited. I was playing Wii when the Wii system came out. I was playing Game Boy. I was playing everything.
And
back
your
then.
parents were supportive of gaming?
Well, they were supportive in gaming as a pastime. As a career choice, not so much. They were a little concerned about gaming as a career choice.
Rightfully so, probably. As a parent, I can understand that.
Definitely.
But as a pastime, they were okay. It wasn't like, hey, go play soccer, kick a ball around, run around, and do something more physical than gaming.
As long as my grades were good, and that, I did have quality outside time, and I went, to go to the golf course or something of the sort for my extracurriculars, they didn't, really bother about gaming as a pastime.
I think from a parental standpoint, gaming is probably the greatest leverage
Yep.
a parent has ever had in life
Yep.
with getting their kids to do anything from brushing your teeth to homework to stop hitting a sibling.
Yes,
You know,
definitely.
in so many millions of households, there is, I'm taking that away.
Yep.
And behavior seems to change.
Yep.
But you grew up as a traveling child in the military,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah, my father, he just retired after 32 years of service.
Well, congratulations, Dad.
And now he works
And
at Booz
thank
Allen
him.
Hamilton. Thank you. I will definitely make sure that he's
That's
thanked.
greatly appreciated. So, where did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah,
you.
he now works at Booz Allen Hamilton. He's still in Germany, but I got the blessing and the experience of traveling the world. I think we're clocking in at 40 countries right now that I've visited.
Really?
It is amazing. So I've had a blessed childhood.
So, is gaming an asset in terms of socialization as you were going
Definitely.
base to base? That there was a commonality, and all of a sudden now you can
Definitely.
play.
Yeah, everyone on those bases, it was really common for all the kids to play Call of Duty. Your parents are in the military, you play Call of Duty.
Oh, that's interesting. You would think the military is so ever present that maybe there's another game, maybe not. Maybe it's just indoctrinated in the family. It's military, so we're going to play COD. That's
Literally, yep. It's exactly how it works. And so every kid, we'd all play COD after school. We'd go play Call of Duty. During the weekends, we'd play Call of Duty. We'd go to each other's houses and play Call of Duty. And it was really cool because no matter what country I went to, even with locals, they all knew games. They all gamed. The entire world games. So no matter where I went to either country, if there's a language barrier, we all understood, what CSGO was or, what Valorant was. So it was really easy to connect with a lot of people and make a lot of friends, on the other side of the world.
And then your formal, quote unquote, role in esports started many years ago. So tell me about that.
So I used to play Call of Duty on clans, like smaller clans. I kind of worked my way up from there, then created my own around my sophomore year of high school, right before COVID hit. So that's when I started BearClaw. It was February of 2020. When I did that, everything kind of shifted. Of course, a lot of people were hesitant in my life choices at the time, but definitely, it definitely paid off. But
okay, so they didn't like the choice because your age, or they didn't like the choice because it was hard to imagine it being a career?
It was definitely hard to imagine it being a career. And a lot of my friends and family, they see FaZe, they see Optic, and they're like, yeah, it's not going to happen, and you're never going to be at that level. And I was like, you know what, try
I'm not so
me.
sure you want to be either one of those organizations these days.
I want to be my own, set my own path.
Well, because we'll get to the challenges and the monetization, because obviously, there's been a lot because of the SPAC with FaZe published about, is there a there kind of thing?
Yep.
And Optic obviously is a name change, and it's a successor organization.
Yep.
And there's so many esports organizations that now look at themselves as an entertainment company and creator first, as opposed to gaming esports first, which is an interesting conversation to have, which we'll touch on. But you wake up one day and you go, yeah, I can do this. I may be a baby in the eyes of the world. You'll always be a baby in the eyes of your parents.
Yep.
And I'm going to have an esports organization, and I don't own a football team or an NBA franchise, and I'm going to figure out how to fund it, staff it, compete, and make it work. What's that moment? I mean, when did you say, because then that's 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So
almost 2.5 years ago.
All right. So you're 16 and a half, 17 years old. Almost the time that people are learning to drive, you're owning and creating an esports team.
Yeah.
What's that aha moment?
I think growing up, being in those like clans and all that, and seeing that competitive Call of Duty, during 2012 and up, I think when that aha moment was when I was starting BearClaw, and when I was watching, any of the Call of Duty. At this time, it was the CWL. It was the last CWL before it switched to CDL. I think it was watching the CWL, seeing, teams that I look up to play and saying in my mind, I don't want to meet them as a fan. I want to meet them as a peer. And I want to know them more than just as a fan. I want to be able to go out to dinner with these people, and get to know their life story. And I think that's where my aha moment really came, was seeing the people that I look up to compete. And I think the bigger aha moment that made it a little bit more solidified was actually a few months ago going to Minnesota, going to play in the Call of Duty Challengers Cup, seeing Attach, who I looked up to since 2017 Denial, watching him win in Advanced Warfare as the youngest COD pro, and going up to him and him saying, BearClaw, right? Harley, okay, I was watching you guys the other day in the Elites, that was so cool to me,
It's got to be. I mean, that's that validation at its best.
Yeah, and then he comes out, he goes back into his room, right? He says, give me one moment. I'll be right back. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm sitting with some of my staff, and he comes back out with his mom, right? Mom attached. And he's like, I have a question. And I'm like, what's going on? He takes off his hoodie. He shows his new merch line. He's like, this is unreleased. Don't tell anyone. But what do you think? And I was like, this is awesome. He's like, you're the first one to see this. I respect you guys. You guys are cool. Seeing you guys from Elites. So for me, that was like the coolest validation moment.
I can see in your face. That's cool.
From seeing him compete, as the youngest COD pro to win a world championship, to being, the youngest CEO, getting that validation from someone who's been in that type of place before was amazing.
It's got to be. All right, so now you're 16 and a half, 17 years old. You've already had the aha moment. You go, BearClaw's going to be a professional organization in the esports world.
Yep.
What do you do at 17? You don't have business experience per se.
Yep.
You don't have a whole lot of life experience.
Nope.
Per se. You have gaming experience as a gamer on a couch and, the wide-eyed sports fan.
Yep.
And you say, okay, now I form an LLC. What do I do?
Yeah, so basically that entire moment of, okay, how do I get this off the ground was, I was working at Taco Bell at the time. I was like, all right, I'm going to take a second job. So I was a PC repair technician at a place.
Taco Bell's a good place to start an esports team. I mean,
yeah. But I was working at Taco Bell at the time, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to need more money. I got to do something else. So I took on a second job while I was doing online classes in high school. So I became a PC repair technician at a place called Handy Clinic on Ramstein Air Base. So I was working at the Taco Bell and as a PC repair technician while doing school full-time and trying to start BearClaw. So lots of moving parts. Sleep was non-existent, and I had 36-hour work days. I remember those days. I still have some of those days. I'm going to be completely honest. But
they're never going to. When those days stop is when you start worrying.
Yep. Yeah, no, you have definitely a good point. But so, I did that. I spoke to my dad. I was like, how do I start an LLC? My dad's like, I don't know. I'm not a business guy. So I was looking at everything. I was watching YouTube videos. I was reading Harvard Business Review. I was just reading, studying, no sleep, complete grind time, as everyone would call it. And then, started at LLC, had my dad, be the major owner of the time because I wasn't 18 yet, so I couldn't own it. When I was 18, he signed it over to me so that way, I was running operations anyways. Right. He was just there as a name so I could legally have it. So then he signed it over to me when I was 18. Before all that stuff, I had I think the biggest turning point for me was when a Korean Valorant team reached out to me. I had the first Korean Valorant team. Then we went under we were going to be bought out and do an M&A. We were going to be the ones merging under another company. That M&A did not go so well. There's a lot of past history on it. That M&A just fell apart. It was a company, I believe I can say this because there's no legal repercussions right now. A company called Plinius at the time that actually hurt more than just me, but they hurt companies like Solaris, which used to be called Ardor. They hurt companies like me. They hurt companies like Hong Kong Telecom, HGC. So it was a huge thing that, it really set me back because
They promised certain things and didn't fulfill it?
They promised a lot. They were promising, one, to acquire the company for a set amount of money. We had a full formal contract in place. They were promising paying me, paying my company, paying salaries. When we didn't receive payment and things started going wrong and we had to break away, I had to personally go into my own college fund and pay, a lot of those Valorant players. And I had to sit there and learn a hard lesson. I was like, dang. I was like $13,000 that I could have used for college.
So I can tell you, being somewhat of an entrepreneur from all the things that I've done, even through Skins, you don't really learn by your successes.
No.
Those are easy to sit back and, as the saying goes, light a cigar and have a cognac. You learn by your mistakes.
Yeah.
Exceptionally well, hopefully. And I think the ultimate goal is you don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
But you got through that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think
with pain and education.
Pain, suffering, sadness, but it did teach me a lot. A lot of those failures, any failure, even smaller failures that I, see today, no one's perfect and good people make bad decisions, and good people make, mistakes. It's how you handle them afterwards that makes you the good person, that sets you apart from everyone else. And I think even as I'm still learning, because I'm still not perfect and my company is still not perfect.
Never will be. Listen, no matter what, stuff's going to happen. It's not that you're never going to stop things from happening.
Yeah.
But you do learn how to grow from it.
Yep.
And your response to it.
Yep.
And that's the best that business can teach you. So that falls apart.
Yeah, so Plinius falls apart, and then
now they don't buy you, and now you're here in debt or less money in your college fund.
Less money in my college fund.
And your parents are saying, "I told you."
Yeah, literally, my parents were sitting there. They're like, "Oh,
my God, I told her she wouldn't listen.
You wouldn't do this," and I was like, "No, I'm gonna do it again." Right? So I do it again. And my parents are like, here we go again. This is horrible. But I did it again, and I actually met a lot of good people out of that, and learned a lot of, good lessons. And I think that's something that, college could have never taught me, was that experience that I went through, It
never will. College will never teach you that.
Exactly. And so I went off again, just starting back by myself, start of 2021, basically. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this again. And so I did, started acquiring teams, started finding sponsors, really starting out small, grounding everything, setting in the proper procedures, setting out proper processes, something that I didn't have beforehand, and then it took off from there. It kept, getting better. Of course, we've had our setbacks since then, and, everything always changes. Like the crypto market right now, we had a setback because of the crypto market and some of our partners that we work with, In
terms of sponsors or in terms of investors?
In terms of sponsors. We had a sponsor leave because they're like, we can't support, because we're a crypto company. We can't support anyone right now because of the crypto market. And I'm like, no, that makes sense.
I hear that. It's kind of interesting because you can look at crypto as the greatest thing ever or not. And we won't have a crypto conversation because there's no reason to. That's kind of not our subject. But it's unfortunate because it is certainly in gaming because of blockchain and
play to earn games,
and metaverse and Web3 and all the things that are kind of associated in and around gaming. Gaming seems to be the highway to justify a lot of these things that have no justification, crypto being one of them. I just saw something yesterday that was at crypto.com that took over what used to be the Staples Arena, the Staples Center in L.A., that there's a rumor that they're trying to get out of their $250 million.
Well, there's a whole rumor about Coinbase right now, too.
And Coinbase. And Binance is no longer taking crypto.
Yeah.
So as an owner of a team, do you now just say we're staying away from all crypto so I
Yeah, so after seeing some of our sponsors, having a hard time in their businesses, with the crypto space, and understanding, hey, maybe 2 years down the road we can reconvene, because, the crypto market right now is of course not bullish at all. It's definitely bearish. But I think, stay away from crypto for now. I think definitely in the next few years, we are going into a recession. But I think in the next few years, of course, crypto will rise back up. Looking at past trends, how it's been through, smaller recessions. But I definitely see crypto going back up. I just think for now, as a team, we should stay away from something like crypto and the metaverse and play to earn games, just because of the fact that the space right now is not in the most stable state. And it's really hard to, push a campaign or push something to your fans that don't believe in it or don't feel confident in what you're trying to sell, or confident in what you're trying to, give them as entertainment. And fans should always come first. Your organic fans should always come first. And no matter I'm the CEO or not, the fans are still my boss.
Right.
At the end of the day, they're still my boss. If I do something that they don't like, I'm not going to be,
That's true.
I'm going to be canceled.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, what I want to do is to be honest and give the fans what they want. I don't want to, force feed something that, is not, confident in the world right now.
Yeah, I'm, gaming, they keep saying that metaverse is the extension of gaming to a large extent. I'm not so sure that the metaverse is anything other than just another place. Right?
Yeah.
It's another place. It's hard enough, for people to create good games.
Yep.
And let alone create scale around a game.
Yep.
So to start looking at new places to do that in, not so sure the world needs that, but that's a different union and pay grade than applies to me. All right, so you reconstitute your organization. And you go, okay, now I'm independent, and I'm going to raise money. I'm going to start my teams. And you start with how many teams and competing?
We started with 2 at the time. We had Apex, and then we did Call of Duty again, which worked out actually really well. And we were just growing from, Call of Duty. We continuously kept getting better teams. So Call of Duty was just advancing up better teams each and every time. With Apex, we were advancing up our Apex teams. Sadly, we had to let our Apex team go because we thought there was going to be a LAN, and you always work up towards the LAN. You always work up towards the big bucks tournaments.
Of course.
And that's what the sponsors want. And when we found out that LANs were not going to happen in 2021 because of COVID, and it was a European team, we sadly had to let go of the Apex team and start looking at more NA options. Right now, current BearClaw, we still have an overseas team. We actually have a Singaporean Valorant team right now. So we're super excited about that. We're happy to get back into Valorant, happy to be, back where really what boosted BearClaw up, in a good light.
So what's the challenge in running an esports organization?
Oh gosh, I think the biggest challenge is scalability and differentiating yourself from others.
So scalability in terms of fan base?
In terms of fan base, in terms of doing something different, because a lot of esports organizations do the same thing. And trying to do something different or figuring out how to do something different, you got to think outside the box. For us, for BearClaw, we're like, okay, we're not going to make money, and we're not going to make, a growing different organization from just doing the same thing that FaZe or Optic are doing, or Space Station going to tournaments and having sponsors. What else can we do? And so we turned to facilities, right? We're like, okay, maybe if we put facilities around the world, and maybe we do something in our brand, we can offer more and be closer to the community, and offer something that hasn't been done yet by other teams. So I think thinking outside the box in that sense, and working with the cities and working with the government and showing in the light of esports in the right way, is where your solidified revenue comes from, where your, solidified business plan comes from, because we had to shift our business plan, when we were like, okay, how do we do this? We're going to start making facilities as well, and I think that's where it
Well,
really
that
came
certainly
about.
gets you into grassroots and gaming. Listen, gaming at its core, you can talk about esports and everything else, is about community. Right?
Definitely.
Games are transient. They come and they go. Leagues come and they go.
Yep.
And you don't control the IP, right?
Yep.
Because they're not your game. So what you can control is, to a certain extent, is your community.
Exactly, yep.
And the only way you get to a community is to build it from the ground up. You can't,
Exactly.
You cannot buy a community.
And I
you
think-
cannot buy the Texas Rangers
Yeah.
fan base. You have to build the Texas Rangers fan base.
And I think that's where a lot of esports organizations do go wrong, is they don't really care about community or grassroots first. A lot of times, they'll say they do, but they just go off and do their own thing. I think truly caring about grassroots is creating those tournaments, creating those spaces, making an outlet for creators.
But there is a difference between having a community-based organization and having a profitable business.
Definitely.
Right. So I think certainly a lot of the conversation that I hear that's done actually in these mics is esports a viable business? As a standalone esports organization?
Currently, no, not at all. I think in 4 or 5 years, definitely. It's, it's growing rapidly, and it's definitely gonna be the future. A lot of people, when football or baseball just started out, it was not a viable option at all. Any of this.
But they have survived primarily on media rights.
Yep.
Do you think esports? It doesn't have to get to the same amount, in terms of media rights. Listen, the NBA and the NFL have been around forever today. So to think that you're going to get media rights at that level overnight, that's obviously not going to happen. But do you think there's a Thursday night 2-hour COD block on Amazon coming, or Sunday, like, the NFL game of the week, or whatever, Monday Night Football?
Not yet. Definitely.
Did you see
not
that
yet.
10 years?
I could see that. Actually, I could see that in like 3 or 4 years, to be honest. ESTV right now is working on that, and they're kind of paving the way to make that a reality. So I do know that there are some people that are working to make that a reality. And like I said, I think that is, 3 or 4 years down the line, going to be a truly viable option, especially with esports going into the Olympics.
Yeah, what I find interesting is conversationally is that the people that game are digital.
Yep.
Right? So the media that has funded sports, for the most part, has not been digital.
Yep.
Does this audience go non-digital for that content, or do the digital platforms have to step up and write checks for the right to air that?
I think it works both ways. You definitely see a lot of the fan base, the digital fan base, becoming more, physical, going out to League of Legends tournaments, actually going to watch teams play. So, I definitely see that digital fan base is slowly coming to be a physical fan base as well. As for those, physical base, media, entertainment, people or companies or sponsors, they definitely need to move more digital. There's a lot of non-endemic brands and brands that are just used to, football and baseball, that they are taking a liking to esports. And I think, both have to meet at an intersection. It's just the
as
pace.
A brand, our thinking as a brand in this space. We're more of a endemic brand because
definitely
we're not beer selling to.
Yep.
To gaming.
Yeah.
I think the challenge that we ask ourselves all the time is there sufficient engagement
Yep.
to raise your brand awareness
Yep.
that leads to some form of conversion?
And that's where I think having a physical space is going to set us apart from a lot of people. You know, we can host our own LANs at our space.
Yeah, no question.
You know, we can, sell right then and there. And when people see, ads and marketing, a lot of times they're like, okay, that's cool. And then it just leaves their head, they're not going to think about State Farm for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? But when they see something in a space and, it's right in front of them, they're a lot more inclined to go purchase said item.
Point. I've had up until COVID Los Angeles Kings hockey season tickets for 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
And every game that I took, other than family, at the end of the game, as we're leaving the arena, I'd say, give me 5 brands that you saw during the game. Mm-hmm. Not once in 20 years did people come up with 5, and no one came up with Staples as the office supply company at the Staples Center. And I'd always say, well, what about Staples? They go, what about Staples? Oh, yeah. Yep. I just never, in literally 20 years. So it's a good point. You say, if you control that and everything is just you, and you have brands that support your audience, right? That are not off the wall brands that shouldn't be there, then yes, I think that makes sense, both for the brand, your brand, the participating brand, and most importantly, the value proposition to your attendees, consumer players.
Oh, definitely.
So it's so tell me about the arenas. I know we're going to go see one later today. I'm excited about that because Skins will be part of that. Size, layout.
Yeah, so we want to do something a little bit different. Of course, we want a gaming cafe, but we want it to be an actual facility that offers more than just your average gaming cafe. Of course, we're going to do boot camps, but we want to engage schools. We want to put in coaching. We want people to see their favorite players playing at the same place that they are. We want to be able to host classes. We want to be able to do more with these spaces than anyone could imagine. Camps, like camps for kids, coding camps. We want to be able to, cover all ends of the spectrum that many gaming cafes are not covering. And there's a lot of open-ended, things that are just left in the blue that I think a lot of these cafes are not harnessing their full potential, and I think for us, if we're able to harness that full potential, and have a brand behind it and have an actual, esports team open a space with their brands, something that, if I'm not wrong, has not been done before.
I don't think it's been done before. I think, listen, as much as esports is looked at with some degree of maturity, it's still a very immature space, and it's still a very nascent space, and is still, I think, even forget the wild, wild west. It's the wild, wild, wild west.
Definitely.
It's throwing darts against a board and hoping something's going to stick.
Definitely.
So, there's a lot of the large arenas just built large arenas without any thought of programming.
But the thing is you're completely right. These large arenas are not for your day-to-day audience at all. And if you make something smaller, more boutique, that makes someone feel welcome, that's for the audience that you want. Being able to branch out and do more than just, hey, I'm hosting a big tournament. I think with those, you don't get the interaction with your fans as closely. They just
listen, I went through that with Allied Esports when they did the Hyper, what is now, I still think it's in
HyperX.
HyperX still has that. I don't know that they have the entire side of the pyramid anymore, but I remember going through there, it's got to be 4 years ago during construction, because that used to be a nightclub.
Really?
It was first a nightclub,
cool.
Live or Live X, something like that. And when you went through that, it was holy cow. I mean, this is a massive space.
Yep.
And as we saw it progress, and then it was at the opening, it was saying, how does this make sense? I mean, there's a lot of money being put into this space.
Yep.
What's happening on 2 o'clock on a Wednesday?
And I think that's the biggest thing is like you have these companies making all these big spaces, right? Or you have teams making arenas, or my favorite, you have just companies that come in and are building all these, smaller spaces. But never has a team built an actual space, right? Never has a team built a smaller scaled gaming cafe. I think that's where everyone shoots for the stars and hits the Andromeda Galaxy when they're trying to hit the moon.
I don't know how successful it's been or not. In fact, I think they just reached out to us. Was it Allied that's now in some of the Walmarts?
Yeah. But the thing is, I see, and it's Allied is, great what they're doing, that they're in the Walmarts. The Esports Arenas in the Walmarts. But Allied, not many people know that it's Allied space. They see Esports Arena, right? And I think that's where those teams are missing out. I think it's either Splice or somebody that owns Play Live Nation. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't know that if you're like a hardcore esports like aficionado. But people see Play Live Nation. And I think, like I said, that disconnect is what's really hurting those teams. Because if you as a team put your brand out there, you staff it, you don't just use it for birthday parties, right? But you actually provide true value to it. I think that's when...
So it's all, in your version, it's a community center in many respects, as much as it is a gaming center.
Yes, it should be a community center first, rather than, hey, I'm going to go make money and have a birthday party and just fill butts and seats.
So when you look at your roster, do you ever get concerned that in esports, there's fandom for games, but not for athletes?
I would argue that. If you look at Faker, T1 Faker, everyone who plays League of Legends loves Faker.
Right. But that's one. I mean, it's kind of like saying, yes, people know Ninja.
Yeah, people know Scump. People know...
There's a handful of people that are known.
Yeah.
But doesn't the sport demand that more of the athletes are known? That when people see them, they go, oh my God, like your experience, right?
No, definitely. I agree. I mean, I've had some of the, smaller known Call of Duty players, I've seen fans come up, oh my gosh, I know that guy, and are amazed, I think it's just the fans to that game are more, and this is something that I've seen in a lot of esports, is fans will support everyone. It's not, I just support this one person or this one team and that's it. But they support everyone. So it's really hard to pinpoint,
Well, that's an interesting concept, that you think the esport fan is a fan of the ecosystem.
Yep.
As opposed to a baseball fan has for the most part, a favorite team and a rotating favorite player on that team until they become a free agent and they sign someplace else. So
I definitely see it as more of an ecosystem thing. You'll have, I like Optic, right? But I like all the teams in the CDL, and I would happily buy all of their merchandise because it's cool. Okay. But that's what I see with a lot of people. They'll have their favorite team or their favorite player, but they'll support everyone, because I think it's because a lot of these people know that the ecosystem is growing, and if they can support the ecosystem in any way they can.
Right, but someone like you in that ecosystem needs money to build
definitely
stadiums, arenas, salary, staff, and
definitely.
Is that a challenge?
It is. Definitely, because we don't have those, diehard, hardcore fans yet, and a lot of teams don't have that yet. There's very select teams that do, FaZe being one of them.
And do these investors say, is it a vanity investment or is it a business investment?
See, I would want to say it's a business investment because long-term, the numbers look amazing.
But, as you sit here today where we are, I think every investment in esports has been
vanity.
It will pay off in time.
Yeah.
But it is kind of that FOMO, fear of missing out kind of thing. Or on the top level, right? On the high end level, it's the Bob Crafts and it's Mark Cuban, and they're doing it as a marketing tool for some of their other sports enterprises and what have you. And I appreciate that. But you drop down to the lower tier and lower only in terms of size, not in terms of quality or anything else. Are those investors still vanity investors, or are they going, I want to see your balance sheet, I want to see your 5-year projections?
Our investors personally are business investors. They, what's your balance sheet? What's money's coming in and out? What is your projection for this? How do you see it going this way? As the ecosystem, the industry as a whole, how do you see it? Ours personally are very much so business investors, but I definitely know that there are some vanity investors, even at the lower tier. I see a lot of teams that I compete with that pop up out of nowhere, and you question, how did they get so famous overnight? And you realize, this guy has a lot of money. Right. And so, there are still definitely vanity investors at the lower level, and sometimes it does hurt the ecosystem, especially with the people that have been, trying and really pushing their brand out there and pushing their cause and doing what they're doing. For someone to come in, just a lot of money off the face of the earth and, go in. But, it helps and hurts the ecosystem as a whole, I would say. But, I think those true business investors are the people who should be in it.
There's no question. To have real business people that want to see growth.
Yep.
Right. That understand that you can't pay rent on likes.
Yep.
Right? And it just kind of doesn't work very well.
Well, some creators on YouTube can. But very few.
Very few. Very, 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 very few. And then how do you deal within your organization, individual players, your organization, the arena, and the larger system of the bad behavior in gaming? The trolling, whether it's religious trolling, LGBT, black, white, Asian. There's so much of it. Now, granted, there's so much that isn't.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
And it's all healthy and supportive and well. And there's great organizations like Game Hers for,
Love Game Hers.
And Rebecca's great.
Amazing.
She was here a month ago. We had a lovely conversation. But as an organization, how do you do that? Because one of the challenges you have is to present that to your fan base.
Yeah.
With parents and kids and family units. What do you do with that?
Number one, we have an HR department. We have an HR department for purposes like that. Truly, in my company, how I see it is if you can do your job, I don't care who you are. Who you are, what you identify as, where you come from, I don't care. Yeah, I respect everyone, right? If you can do your job and you like esports, by golly, come on in, right? And I think that's where a lot of people, there's still some older people in the scene that have certain biases or certain, thought processes. Even younger people that, come from a certain line of family that have certain thought processes as well. And I think, having some people that are raised in that environment and, bringing that to gaming is, of course, like you said, unhealthy. But I think the biggest thing is trying as a team to teach the right ways of esports and pushing and being that, I would say, leader in a space to show what's wrong and what's good. And of course, it's subject to the viewer to take that in or not. Right. But to actually create a healthy path for fans and a healthy understanding of esports is what a lot of teams should be doing. And that's why I think, having strict guidelines, having an HR department, and having, your team see each other as a family rather than, I compete against this other streamer in this organization because I want, the goodie bag, should I say. And some people do that. But that is not how I want any team to be or anybody to feel like. And I think that's for the teams to pave that way of what's right and what's not right in esports.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. I keep hoping it's going to get better.
Definitely.
And then something flares up and doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's probably reflective of society
Oh yeah,
as
definitely.
a whole. It's just there are a lot of people that still want to say that gaming's unhealthy or
Yep.
that it leads to violent behavior.
Yep.
And playing Call of Duty means you're going to go, do
Yeah.
what they did in Texas and go jump into a school and,
exactly.
and do something.
But then you look at like Germany, and then you see CS:GO, but then you look at their rates for certain incidents, and it's virtually non-existent.
No question.
And so I would say, pinning certain things on video games it's a moot point, because if you look at the rest of the world, and
Oh, no question.
You have 2.5 billion gamers according to
Yes.
Newzoo. Out of 8 billion people, there's not 2.5 billion people in the U.S.
No.
And I think a lot of people forget about that, and they're like, once you look at the rest of the world, they're like, gaming may not cause violence.
No, it was 3 years ago. Was it in Jacksonville, where somebody went into a Madden tournament and shot some people?
Yep.
And the only good news about that, because I remember it happening, is that it was a Madden tournament. If it was a Call of Duty tournament, they would have said it's the violence in the game
Yep.
that created that. And fortunately for gaming, and I said it then, was that it was Madden.
Yeah.
So nobody could say, well, football
Yeah.
as an activity was what caused the violence.
Yeah.
But do your athletes worry about being on the wrong end of hate?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of athletes that I have, certain athletes come from different, backgrounds, do, worry about certain things, in their streams, or they do worry about how others perceive them. And I think it's up to us as an organization to treat them like family, and to know that they're, for them to know that they're welcome, and to be that space for them, to be that family for them, because some of them may not have that support system. So you're not just a company as an esports organization, you're a family. You're a support system. You are, a team. And I think that's where, some investors or even some sponsors, or even some people in the organization as a whole, don't see that aspect, because it is more than just a business. It's more than just, I'm going to go make money, right? It is a lifestyle, and it's a purpose.
It is.
Yeah,
without a doubt. All right, in the time we have, I'm going to ask you two last questions. I'll try to get it to 2 last questions. I have a tendency not to honor my own two, but we'll try that. You know where you are today. If you close your eyes and you say, this is where I want BearClaw to be 2027.
2027. Okay, so I'm going to tell this to everyone. There's one goal that I have in esports, one singular goal. It is to have a League of Legends team in either the LPL or the LCK.
Okay.
And it is to go to Worlds and to be able to see my team in BearClaw jerseys up on stage and bow. And that's everything. That's all I ask, right? I don't want to have a yacht or a plane or have millions of dollars. My joy in esports will be fulfilled when I see my League of Legends team on the world stage and bowing. We could be dead last. I don't care. But that would be my joy.
With your passion, I am sure you're going to get there, and I wish I would have asked that second, because that would have been a great place to end on. But I do have another question. You're a great role model for who you are.
Thank you.
What you have attempted to do and what you have already done. Forget what you will be doing in the future. What do you say to somebody that wants to follow that path?
Oh boy. I would say first thing.
It's hard to say use your life experience as learning, because you're still so young, but you're a lot older than your chronological age because of what you've done. What's your advice to that person?
Yeah, I would say, 1, do your research. 2, not everyone is going to like you. No, you're never going to have 100% support around you. You're going to have haters. You're going to have people that don't like you just because they think you can't do it. You're going to have people that you're going to disagree on, and you're going to, set your separate paths. You're going to have great moments sometimes. You're going to feel like you're on top of the world, just to realize it might come crashing down. But But I would say perseverance is the number one thing. You know, if everything looks like the world is ending, if you just keep pushing through, you're going to make it. And I think that's where a lot of people, you know, they get discouraged and they stop. And I think if you just keep going and you really push forward, then you can do anything.
Yeah, I was told a long time ago, it's not about if, it's just about when.
Yep.
And if you can subscribe to that with most everything in your life, you get there.
Yep. And that's why, you know, through all the ups and downs, you know, I'm still pushing forward.
And you obviously love it.
I do. I love the stress. It's sometimes it sucks, but you know, at the end of the day, if I remember what I'm doing it for.
Yeah, but if it was easy,
it wouldn't be rewarding.
Everybody would be doing it.
Yep.
It's not easy. You know, I can tell you right now, there's got to be tens of thousands of people around the world that are saying at every age, I want to create an esports team. You're sitting around a dining room table or a kitchen table or a restaurant or a bar and saying, I want to do that. That doesn't do anything unless you do that.
Yep.
And you've done that. And it's all about execution.
Executing is the hardest part.
It doesn't have to be flawless execution.
Yep.
But if you don't execute, you're not in the game.
Yep.
So I'm proud of you. The nice thing about where I sit with BearClaw is I get to be part of your growth.
Thank you.
And that's exciting. And it's great to have you here. We're going to bring you back and monitor all of this. Now it sounds like a parent-teacher conference.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You know, I hated those, but looking back at parent-teacher conferences, they were very much so needed, especially with the type of student I was.
Having been to a lot of parent-teacher conferences, yes, they do what's necessary, and you monitor, right, so that you can change course and tactics. And it's one thing you have already seen, and you will continue to see as a CEO. Whatever you think's going to happen, something else is going to happen, and you got to react to it.
Yep. If you think you're going the right way, you're not.
You're not.
If you think you're going the wrong way, you are. You're going the right way, actually.
Which is suit. I am thrilled that you were here. I'm looking forward to going to see the arena now, and we'll probably do a couple shows from there.
Awesome.
You know, with you and guests and the athletes, and understand what they're going through, and get the inside look of what it's like to be a professional athlete with all the pressures that are put upon them. So thank you, my dear. And now it's off to the arena.
To the arena.
Thanks for listening. This podcast is part of the MAP Esports Podcast Network and produced by Innovation Media Enterprises. Please be sure to leave us a review and follow us on your favorite podcast player.